Hi everyone, and welcome to CBRE FlexCast, our thought leadership platform where we interact with prominent leaders from the Indian flex industry and bring their stories, vision, and capabilities to the world. I'm Pulkit Bakshi, Head Flexible Workspace Solutions at CBRE India, and today I'm at a WeWork India facility where we shall be interacting with Mr. Karan Virwani, who is the promoter and CEO at WeWork India. So with that quick introduction, let's finally meet Karan and dive straight into our conversation. Hi Karan.
Hey Pulkit.
Pleasure meeting you again.
Welcome.
So, Karan, you're essentially known as the man who brought WeWork to India and in a way the concept of co-working to this country, right? So, would you like to tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and the origin story of this company?
Yeah, so the way that this all came together was me starting my own entrepreneurial journey when I came out of college, and I set up a hospitality business right after my last year of college, or actually in my last year of college. And while going through that entire process, I saw some of the unorganizational, setup of Indian entrepreneurs or people who are setting up businesses in India. Our meetings were in rented apartments. We did meetings in Starbucks. It was very hard to find a designer to build our logo. It was very hard to, sort of put the pieces together in an organized way and have a network to do that. So the original idea started off by being able to provide this network and space for smaller businesses where they could actually come to work, in a way that gave them and their companies also credibility and, some form of validation of being a real company. And once I, saw that gap when I spent some time working in our family business, which was in real estate, I saw that we were building these huge tech parks and office spaces for the large global MNCs, but no one was doing something for the Indian, enterprise or Indian companies that were ballooning in India at that point in time. So kind of marrying those two problems together, we started to really conceptualize or think about a shared working space or just a space really for smaller companies within our larger tech parks. And that's how we ended up actually coming across WeWork, seeing what WeWork was doing in the States, married very much with some of those problems that we were trying to solve. And just like we have done as part of Embassy Group with a lot of our other businesses, we've always believed in long-term partnerships and partnerships with, the top tier of companies. And seeing what WeWork had already built, the culture, the design, and the technology that was already in place, we actually thought the best way to, do this would be to form a partnership for India. And that gave us a huge launch pad to scale extremely fast. And like you said, that speed of scale actually created the entire segment in India. And what you see today with so many other operators and, the space that you're seeing is a fully localized version of what WeWork originally started off with in the US. This is WeWork India.
Absolutely, and I think everybody agrees that you've put together a great product here. But, leading from that origin story, it's been 6 years since you started this company?
Yeah, July 2017 we opened our first WeWork, and so it'll be 6 years soon.
And how do you think has your company and the entire Indian flex industry evolved over the last 6 years since you started?
So a lot has happened. I think one of the things we always knew but really surprised us a lot as we started was how quickly the concept was, adopted, not only by startups, but actually by some of the largest enterprises in the world. When we started in India, the enterprise story within Flex had not really begun. But when we opened our first location, which was Galaxy, we ended up doing a deal with both Amazon and Microsoft, which was, something that was really unheard of in the space. And that coupled with, I guess, the Indian startup ecosystem itself, booming and growing in such a massive pace, funding actually coming in, and India being such a young, country, all of those stars have really aligned, I think, for this segment. And pre-COVID, the adoption was already happening, and we could see how a lot of other players were sort of mushrooming, and I think from the day we opened Galaxy till 12 months after that, 350 operators had mushroomed in the country. So it was like this massive explosion. And I think there was then another pivotal point, which was, COVID. COVID was like meant to be the killer of this business and this industry, but actually, I think it ended up becoming, the tailwind that is now going to carry this segment for the next, multiple decades, hopefully, where we see the entire ecosystem actually solidifying around Flex as a segment, right? Brokers and channel partners, and the funnel is working well and are benefiting a lot with us as players and as a segment. The customer is extremely happy and is evolving to become some of the largest companies, and some of the most traditional companies also looking, at us as a solution. And then finally, the landlords also have started to see the value of us, being part of the portfolio, of being able to be in a park or in a building with a few floors, and what we bring to their assets and the entire portfolio. So as that grows and solidifies, I think, the future is at least solid and stable, and we don't have to educate people about what we're doing.
And I tend to agree with your point around, how actually I think COVID did for Flex what perhaps demonetization did for fintech companies, right? It gave them reasons and, time to try this entire product and this industry out. Yeah. And then it's proved its own merit basis, which it's been growing so well and fast. And there's some industries who do well when the market's on a boom. I think the industries that actually tend to do well when the market's not doing well. And Flex was one of those sectors who survived through COVID overall and grew after that. I think that's actually a fundamentally strong product industry. That's how we see it. So again, because we mentioned about how WeWork was in the US and you were very impressed by their product. And so for somebody who's not seen both the WeWorks, the one in the US and the one in India, are they similar in any way or every way? What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, why don't I show you? I think that's the best way to do
Let's
it.
take a walk.
What we've essentially done is we've kept the ethos, and the core of what a WeWork is in terms of the space, the energy that you feel when you walk into the place, the space types that are, made for multiple products for a shared environment. At the same time, we've completely, over the last 6 years, localized the product, understood what the Indian customer, really wants. And this floor itself shows you some of those little differences. And in India, people tend to dine and eat a lot more communal than they do in other parts of the world. In other parts of the world, F&B isn't as much of a main focus, but in India, F&B is a massive focus. And if you see in your workday and most offices, whether in a WeWork or not, there are these rituals that most employees like to do. They love meeting at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock for a chai. They like going out for a cigarette break and, having a cup of coffee or getting some food and all of that. So we've tried to incorporate as much of that here as possible. You'll see that, it's 11 o'clock right now and people are still, super active. We have people who are, our on-demand and all-access members, which are a fully flexible subscription model working over there in the common area spaces. You'll see people from different companies actually connecting, here on this what we call the main management floor or the center of gravity. Our partners Chai Point, which is a very local product, very popular here, especially in the north in the winters. You'll see this bar completely, packed at all times. And then behind you, you'll see like a TT table and a games room. So, what we really try to aim for is the office being not just for work, but also a social hub. And I think post-COVID, that's one of the things that you'll notice is that people want to come to the office with a certain purpose and to collaborate, to meet their colleagues, to build culture in their organization, to get out of that framework of being in the house and actually be able to work. So we have areas which are open and more flexible, and then you have focus areas at the back, which are really the offices and conference rooms, phone booths, and things like that.
It's quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, I do see the communal feel over here. Right, everything's there, right? So there are people hanging out in the open area. There's hot desks. So it's interesting to see how you can see so much hustle and bustle vibe over here, but still a lot of people focused in their work without getting disturbed, right? So that's, I think, very people.
I think when you walk in and when you leave a WeWork, you want to feel like high on energy rather than drained on energy, right? And that comes with being in a space like this. This was one of those things which, when we went into WeWork in New York for the first time, knew was a very hard to replicate feeling, because it's such an intangible and it's not really, many people have tried to copy our design or like the way that we do things, but the feeling that you get when you walk in our space, you're not going to be able to replicate.
Absolutely. Which makes me, I'm tempted to try that tea out.
Yeah, why don't I get a chai and, we can go through the rest.
So, yes. 2 lemon teas, please. So that's basically your focus area. That's where.
Yeah. So you will see that about the way that we design our spaces, around 10 to 15 percent of the space is actually common areas, or what we call a we space. And actually the remaining 80 to 90% is actually split between offices and collaboration spaces, or where people can actually sit and work. So the real essence is that you pay for what you need, but you get access to all these shared spaces, this large entire building where you can book rooms on any part of any floor, and even a small company who's 2-person can tell their employees that we have this massive office in the middle of Cyber City and has all the amenities.